Hello, happy Monday, and welcome back to my channel. I hope y'all are having such a good day. I know I am, and we have a few things to get to today. We're going to talk about the 800 and something unbelievable, unnecessary motion that Blake Lively's people filed. We're going to talk about a few things, Tay Swizzy and Blake, and yeah, just a few of my thoughts on this whole thing that's going on because just stop, girl. Stop, okay? But anyway, if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's dive in. Let's get right into it. So it's been announced today or in the last 24 hours. It's breaking news. Oh my God, Tay Swizzy and Blake Lively are friends again. They've made up after Blake Lively apologized. Give me a freaking break, okay? But nobody cares. Nobody cares. Whether you're friends, not friends, who cares? What did you guys do together to take over this movie? That's all we want to know. Taylor Swift, what was your involvement? You were brought up. Blake Lively, your bestie, had talked about it multiple times, how you were there through the entire process, how you even now apparently helped get Isabella Ferrer cast, how you got the composer fired because you didn't want your song to play with the other editors. A bunch of baloney, okay? But now y'all are just friends again and everything's okay. Nobody cares about your friendship. We want to know what you did with all of the other dragons in order to take over this man's movie. Okay, but I do really like what this one report had to say about it because the way they titled it is exactly the way I feel about this situation. Travis Kelce's beau. Taylor Swift forgives Blake Lively amid explosive legal scandal involving Justin Baldoni. I love that they quote Taylor Swift is like not just Taylor Swift, but Travis Kelce's beau. I thought that was really funny because it's like, whatever. I just really like the wording of that because yeah, whatever. Y'all are just some mean girls. Come for me, all the Swifties. I don't care. Something happened. She has an involvement. And what this is doing to me, what this is like screaming at me, what it's like so blatant in my face that I can see is this is once again another PR move, another PR tactic to one, clear Taylor Swift of any wrongdoing because obviously her reputation has taken a jab from this. And also to maybe try to get us to believe and or somehow the public to ignore the fact that she had probably a huge involvement, a lot bigger of an involvement with Blake Lively, as we suspect. But now that Blake's apologized, it kind of puts the blame back on Blake. And that doesn't look good either because that's literally saying that Blake was leveraging their friendship the entire time, was leveraging Taylor Swift. Taylor didn't know about it, which makes Blake be a liar, pants on fire. So the whole time throughout the filming, she's leveraging her relationship with megastar Taylor Swift, her best friend, and Taylor didn't know anything about it. So she was mad when she found out, but now that Blake's apologized, they're besties again. And it's just like, wow, that does not work good for Blake. And I don't think this works good for Taylor. Either way, both of them, bye. I don't care about your friendship. I don't care that you guys have made up. I don't care that Blake apologized. I want to know the truth, okay? I want to know the truth of what happened on the set of It Ends With Us. And now, yeah, getting to this motion of Jed Wallace. Wow. I just think her lawyers are charging her that hourly and just trying to get whatever they can get from her because it was just so ridiculous. No, I didn't read the entire 800 pages because 3/4 of it was literally like, I'll show you when we get to it, but it just was so unnecessary for this motion. It was a lot of baloney. It was a lot of crap. And honestly, when it comes to Jed Wallace, girl, he was never on the set of It Ends With Us. He has nothing to do with your harassment that you faced. He was never there. So you citing all of this stuff over and over and over of what you believe happened to you has nothing to do with Jed Wallace. Where is the proof that he did an untraceable smear campaign against you? Where is the proof about that? Because that's the only thing that you should be filing against or for when it comes to this man, okay? Oh my God, I just got fireworks. I have no idea how that just happened. I use this recording called VDO.ninja on my phone. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know, girl, but I'll take the fireworks. You know what I'm saying? But a lot of people are noticing that Blake has rewritten the truth, has again reinvented the truth. And when it comes to the birthing scene, which is what I've been talking about since day one, because it did not make any sense to me, this birthing scene, the way that she had put it, how Justin just hired his friend, some Joe Schmo off the street to be close to her genitalia, how Steve Sulrich just showed up that day because she was going to have her legs spread open, how, like, all of this stuff, right? And now she's reworded that birthing scene to now it says, or discussed with Miss Lively in advance, added graphic content to the script, including multiple new scenes with nudity, an on-camera orgasm, and added unscripted nudity to a birthing scene for which he cast his friend. Okay, but in her first one, I didn't say that. Added nudity, unscripted nudity to a birthing scene. It just keeps getting reworded, and I like that this user without a crystal ball, who's amazing, wrote a statement by Brian Freeman who said, documents don't lie, but people do. And that is beyond the truth, okay? The story keeps changing over and over and over, and if all of these women were being harassed on the set, Blake, you continued filming on that set. You continued filming, okay? While all of these other women apparently were being harassed. And where are all of these other women? I don't know. It smells like liar, liar, pants on fire. And now before we do get into this 800-page document, which we are not going to go through the entire thing, I am going to show you where I think is like just absolute baloney, just spaghetti at the wall, was so unnecessary to have in a court filing. I will show you those pages quickly, and then we'll just go over a few points in the claim. What I find extremely interesting and to note that everyone should note, okay, is that she keeps bringing up the gynecologist, how Justin Baldoni just hired this random gynecologist off the street, one of his friends, so that they can get close to Blake Lively's private parts. He's a trained actor, okay? A very trained actor. He has an IMDb page. He is a professional actor, but what I think is so interesting is how she never brings up how Emily Baldoni, Justin Baldoni's wife, was also hired on the movie to play a doctor. Yeah, she's in the movie too. And you know who else was hired in the movie that Blake Lively never talks about? Her sister. Yeah, she's in the movie too. So it's okay that Emily Baldoni plays one of the doctors, but another trained, classically trained actor can't be on the set. I swear whoever was hired, they could have freaking brought in, I don't know, I'm trying to think of any big actor here, but they could have brought in anyone to play that gynecologist and it would have been trouble because the ego is so huge. Blake Lively has a huge problem with separating her from her character Lily Bloom. They're trying to get a movie done and tell the story of Lily Bloom, and it ends with us, and everything that's said and happened and referenced about the movie and creative ideas that are flowing and conversations that are happening and literal things she is taking so personally, like it's happening to her. It's so crazy. If you couldn't do a birthing scene, you should have turned down the role. If you couldn't do a kissing scene over and over and over where you have to rehearse multiple times, like you have to rehearse these things. They don't just happen. It's not just a one take. You have to do them so many takes for so many different reasons. Changing the lens. You want a medium shot, a wide shot. You need, if you want an extreme close-up shot, that's all different takes. If you were out of focus, if the boom was in shot, if hair was messy, there's a million different reasons why you need takes. And also, even if you get the right take the first time perfect, you always go for a safety. And then sometimes in that safety shot, okay, the fireworks are enough. I've had enough. And then in that safety shot, you might find something in that shot that you do because you're supposed to be free to have some room for improvisation, so you're not a robot, because every take is different because your character has never been here before. You could have done the scene 15 times. But when you're about to do it, maybe I'm just in a very sparkly firework kind of day, okay? But when you're about to do it again and you call reset and then action comes up, your character, even though you've just done that 15 times, has never been here. So I'm so tired of her using like, oh, well, we did it multiple times. Yeah, you've worked on movies before, Blake, okay? Ugh, gross. Anyway, that's my little rant for the day. Let's get into this motion. A few points. Let's just get into it. I mean, my gosh. So when I was saying that a lot of the stuff was super unnecessary and not needed, it's this kind of stuff. All of these books written that have all of the laws in them. There's even a couple of pages. Like, she just literally copy and pasted all of these books in here. Like signing of the bills, all of the bills. It's unnecessary. Like, to put in this whole legislation and copy and paste this whole book, the legislative bill summaries, and put that in there is absolutely unnecessary. And if I was the judge, I would be rather maybe insulted, because all you need to do is reference to it and they can go and look it up. So to just put all of this noise in here is absolutely, to me, it's bonkers. Maybe some lawyers can chime in, but I did hear a couple other lawyers kind of say the same thing. It's so unnecessary. It's just a bunch of noise to fill space. I feel like maybe they needed to have like a page count or like a word count, so they like added all of this stuff in. And I am going to say straight away, that there is a special place in hell for people who maliciously, vindictively do things like this. I think everyone should know, and it's not outside of my brain because it's in there the whole time, thinking, what the bleep is going on with her team? Obviously, they're seeking some form of revenge. They're angry, they're bitter. It's really coming out in a very nasty way, I will say, because when you have the truth on your side and when you have the right on your side, we know what is right and what is wrong. And when you have God on your side and faith on your side and the truth on your side, you are just looking to speak your truth, to stand in your power and speak your truth, not to degrade, belittle, and insult people. And what they do in here to Jed Wallace is absolutely, to me, disgusting and quite distasteful. I'm trying to find very nice words for what I think this actually did. It does not look good on Blake Lively. In my opinion, it makes her look out to be, as I've been saying a whole time, a very mean gossip girl monster. In Jed Wallace's motions and in his affidavit where he put forth in what he did for them, which said, all I did was look at trends, tell them what was popping, what was not, etc., that he never ever once put out any news articles. And then he had mentioned, but in his complaint, he had it redacted as for court's eyes only, medical information. Blake Lively and her team have put in that medical information, and they knew the whole world was going to see it. Now, for somebody, Ryan Reynolds and Snake Lively, who were just in the courts arguing attorney eyes only for medical records and also for security protections, mostly for medical records, I believe, to now put in someone's personal medical history when they purposely had it redacted is absolutely disgusting. Because how are you fighting for you think you're so above the law, you're so much more powerful, much more bigger, so much more special that your medical history should be attorney eyes only. But yet, when they did it, when he redacted his medical information and now you come in here and you put it out here, whew, there are no words. There are no words to describe that level of petty and bitterness. And if the truth was on your side, you wouldn't have to play games like that. It's absolutely astonishing that you would think that this was anywhere near appropriate. Be a full-grown woman, stand in your power and speak your truth. Stop doing nonsense like this. It's absolutely, it just speaks so much to what your character is, honestly, at the end of the day, and that you are just so sought out on still seeking revenge for a campaign that didn't even happen. Take some accountability for your own actions, your husband's actions, and Maximum Effort's actions. How about you start there? If you want to know who's at the head of the smear campaign, look in the mirror, okay? Someone had just commented that Brian Freeman had said that, echoing the words that I've been saying this whole time. You and your husband sit across from each other. That's who you point the fingers at. Oh my gosh, is it me or am I a little feisty today? Whew, my gosh. Okay, let's quickly get into this. I've highlighted some of the things that I find were interesting or cool or relevant or whatever, like I always do. We're not going to get all the way into it. I think it only goes up to like page 40 or something before it gets into her repeated CRD complaint, repeated crap. It's just like, honestly, it's just a bunch of nonsense. Here we go. Introduction and summary of argument. This case is a sham designed solely to harass and retaliate against Blake Lively for exercising her right to seek legal redress for workplace sexual harassment and retaliation. In December 2024, Ms. Lively filed an administrative complaint with the California Civil Rights Department, which alleges inter alia the plaintiff's Jed Wallace by and through his company Street Relations, collectively plaintiffs aided and abetted a malicious social manipulation campaign against Ms. Lively designed to harm her reputation and undermine her credibility in retaliation for her raising concerns about sexual harassment and other misconduct on the set of a film, It Ends With Us. Jed Wallace was never on the set of It Ends With Us. Do you understand that? He's never met you. He's never talked to you. He was never on the set. He probably had no idea that you raised even any concerns. He was hired to follow trends and report those trends back. And it showed in all of the text messages. Even the cherry-picked text messages that Blake Teams wants you to think that shows proof. There is still no evidence that anything was done. There is evidence that they had a plan in motion in case things happened. They had a plan to focus on the positive, to put out stories about Justin Baldoni in the right light, etc., etc. And also what I want to mention still is we're still waiting on your text messages with Leslie Sloan. We're still waiting on your text messages with Ryan Reynolds in Maximum Effort. We're still waiting on all of your text messages because the text messages so far, Blake, that you've put into your CRD does not look good for you, where you are blatantly calling them creeps, clowns, you're insulting them. They never once insult you. In fact, even the cherry-picked text messages that you show of Justin Baldoni has him saying, "Is this us? I hope this isn't us. Please tell me we aren't doing this." Still protecting you, girl. And this is supposed to be about Jed Wallace. So the fact that they're even saying that it's a retaliation against Blake Lively for being on the set, he was never on the set, okay? Like, you have no idea their communications of how he was hired or why he was hired. It's literally another fishing expedition because there is no proof. The allegations in the CRD complaint against plaintiffs are clear, unambiguous, and include extensive and verbatim statements in their conspirators' own words, including text and email messages. Plaintiffs assert that they were defamed because the caption page of the CRD complaint, which lists all parties on the left side and all alleged causes of actions on the right side, and is standard for cases in California. Yes, but you never filed against Jed. You just kept naming him in the CRD. That's when I think he was named. It caused him a lot of damage because people thought he was like this person that you're still stating he is. And then he sued you, and then you put him in your amended. Let's not forget how things went, okay? Even if the court had jurisdiction over Miss Lively, the first to file rule requires the court to decline to exercise jurisdiction over plaintiff's claims because they are substantially, if not entirely, overlap with pre-existing litigations that Miss Lively initiated in federal court in New York on December 31st, 2024. So Jed Wallace has filed his in Texas. And what's a lot of this kind of thing is happening right now is that they're trying to get it moved to New York or California. I don't know. They state a lot of California, but then they state New York. So they're just trying to get it out of Texas because in Texas, they have a lot different laws than California and New York. Although in her other one, she's trying to get it moved to, they want it moved to California. But it's just like, she doesn't want it in Texas, okay? He filed in Texas. They don't want it in Texas. They're trying to get it dismissed. And the court should reject plaintiff's blatant forum shopping and attempts to divest the first filed court in New York of its rightful jurisdiction over the claims. Factual background. Wallace is a hired gun who specializes in launching untraceable campaigns to mitigate his client's public relations crisis and shape public perception. Wallace is a consultant and owner of Street Relations, missed that part, of Street, which provides a crisis mitigation services to high-profile clients. Wallace is a self-described hired gun with a proprietary formula for defining artists and trends. He claims to help his clients navigate real-life human crisis and threats, among other things. And I can say that I am the top actress in Toronto, award-winning actress, and if you hire me, your movie will be a whole success. Huge success, bigger than if you hired anyone else. I could say that. That's how I could run my business. That's how I could get people to hire me. But then is it true? Is that what the result was? You can claim anything, but where are the results? Oh my God, the whole time I was looking at the wrong camera. It's okay. We're going to get there. Plaintiffs executed a retaliatory campaign against Miss Lively for speaking up about harassment and other misconduct that occurred on the set of It Films With Us. The CRD complaint alleges that he and Wayfair's chief executive officer, Jamie Heath, subjected Miss Lively and others to a set of pattern of unprofessional and sexually harassing behavior. For example, the CRD complaint alleges that Baldoni divulged information about his sex life, made derogatory, degrading, and sexual comments, described his own genitalia, improvised unwanted intimacy that had not been rehearsed, choreographed, or discussed with Miss Lively in advance, added graphic content to the script, including multiple new scenes with nudity, an on-camera orgasm, and added unscripted nudity to a birthing scene for which he cast his friend as Miss Lively's OBGYN. And now, Blake, I know you ain't serious, girl. I know you ain't serious. Because we literally have you on a simple favor. So it's called on a simple favor. We have you on a simple favor with Paul Fig, the director, doing an interview behind the scenes tell-all. And he's laughing about the moment where you unscripted, you added physical, not even assault, okay? Let's just call it what it is. You added sexual assault to the scene. It was not in the script. The actor showed up on set and you said, hey, how about I squeeze your nuts really hard? Not because I want to, but because I think my character would do it. It had nothing to do with the scene. You physically grabbed that man. You even said, I grabbed his nuts hard because your character would want to do that. Can you imagine if Justin Baldoni would have touched you, would have grabbed you? Even the kissing that was in the scene. Even in the dance montage where you're supposed to be locked in each other's eyes, lost to the whole world. Even that flirting, this, where he just touches your... was harassment, but you're on another set improving unscripted nut grabbing? And Leslie Sloan, girl, you said that you were confused. You didn't know the difference. You didn't think there was a big difference between sexual harassment and sexual assault. There's your example. Justin Baldoni here calling her sexy and her physically grabbing a man by his nuts. That's the difference, okay? It's absolutely bananas that we even got here in this case because, like, let's continue. I honestly don't know why I'm getting so upset today. Maybe because it's the April and it's the month of sexual awareness, sexual harassment, and assault awareness month. And this lard of baloney is just driving me absolutely crazy because women are ongoing. 1 in 3 women face some form of mistreatment, misconduct, assault by men. And what Blake Lively claiming here is absolutely, first of all, found to be untrue so far, no evidence, and then also just, it's just bananas. Okay. Let's continue. On August 2nd, 2024, Melissa Nathan delivered a proposal to Baldoni, which included 1, a website to discuss, full Reddit social account takedowns, full social crisis team on hand for anything, engage with audience in the right way, start threads of theories, discuss this, the way to be fully 100% protected. Nathan also proposed the creation of social fan engagement to go back and forth with any negative accounts, helping to change narrative and stay on track. Per Nathan, all of this will be mostly untraceable. As Abel described it, the plan was to engage in social media mitigation and proactive fan posting to counter the negative. That sounds pretty nice to me. I mean, all they're doing is pro-social posting to counter negative ones. It just sounds like regular PR. Am I missing something? Didn't Blake Lively in the summer of 2024 also hire her own crisis manager? Didn't she have Leslie Sloan talking to the media? Didn't she have Ryan Reynolds going to WME and who knows who else? And it is 2025. This was in 2024, but can we just be real that nothing that happens on the internet is untraceable? IP addresses, metadata, so on and so on. Nothing is untraceable. You could say whatever you want. Oh yeah, so all of this will be untraceable. It's the internet, and the internet's forever, and it collects all of the data. Nothing is untraceable, okay? Baldoni wants to feel like Miss Lively can be buried. Wouldn't anyone dealing with this situation? Abel and Nathan agree that they should not betray their true intention in writing. When we send over documents, we can't send over the work we will or could do because that could get us in a lot of trouble. We can't write it down to him. We can't write we will destroy her. We will go to this. We will do this. We will do this. We will do this. Did they make a mistake again? We will do this, but they write we will go to this. Oh my gosh, guys. We will go to this. We will do this. We will do this. We will do this. Imagine if a document saying all the things that he wants ends up in the wrong hands. Nathan followed this by assuring Abel, you know we can bury anyone, but I can't write that to him. Again, where is the actual proof and evidence that they did anything? That they did anything? Because what I saw in the text messages was them saying, which is funny that you don't quote any of those text messages, we don't have to do anything. It's happening organic. Hey, we don't have to do anything. The content creators are doing it themselves. And then Justin saying, I hope this isn't us. Where are those text messages? I would love to see the quotes from those text messages in this complaint. On December 20th, 2024, as a prerequisite to filing a lawsuit in federal court, Ms. Lively filed the CRD complaint. which included a required intake form. The CRD form identifies 10 respondents, including Wallace and Street, and states as follows. The CRD complaint identified the same individuals in its caption and sets forth specific factual allegations detailing the sexual harassment Miss Lively faced on the set of the film, and the retaliatory campaign that had since been waged against her, as well as screenshots of text messages among Baldoni and the PR team. In response to the CRD complaint issued a right to sue notice, which allowed Miss Lively to pursue a lawsuit for up to 1 year. On December 20th, 2024, Miss Lively's counsel sent a copy of the CRD form and CRD complaint and a cease and assist letter to Wallace, which was shared with attorney Brian Freeman, counsel for Baldoni and Wallace. The next day, several press outlets reported on the CRD complaint, but leading the race was TMZ, which included a defamatory statement from Freeman on behalf of plaintiffs, among others. Later that day, the New York Times published an article reporting on the allegations of the CRD complaint entitled, "We Can Bury Anyone Inside a Hollywood Smear Machine." Does anyone else think that record of what happened was actually what happened? Because I feel like, yes, she filed the CRD, she gave it to them, and then I'm so over the fireworks. That's a line I thought I would never say. Maybe it's my nails. Anyway, maybe I just shouldn't talk with my hands. She filed the CRD. Okay, we know that now. The same day, hours later, the New York Times dropped their story. It wasn't until the New York Times dropped their story that every single news media, along with every single content creator, picked it up. So the way they have it worded in here is that the media picked it up before the New York Times dropped the story. Like, that's what I'm getting from that. And that just, like, isn't true. Everyone picked up on the story after the New York Times dropped that article. Like, period. This is a quite interesting thing. And they also, which I'll get to, is they've added some email attachments between Blake Lively's team and Brian Freeman's law team. But this is quite interesting. Wallace evaded and obstructed Miss Lively's persistent efforts to seek information from him before filing the lawsuit in anticipation of becoming a party in the New York litigation. On January 21st, 2025, Miss Lively initiated a Rule 202 petition in Hayes County to obtain a pre-suit deposition of Wallace to investigate the full nature and scope of his role in implementing and carrying out the retaliatory campaign against her. Wallace repeatedly evaded and obstructed Miss Lively's persistent efforts to serve him by process server and by certified and USPS mail. On January 23, 2025, after trying to serve Wallace at his gated property, the process server received a text message from an associate at Freeman's law firm stating, "The law firm Liner Friedman Tadelman plus Cooley LLP will accept service for him. Do not try to serve him again. Thank you." Later that day, Brian Freeman claimed that my office never agreed to accept service of process of anything and then denied such arrangement. Wallace's counsel also indicated that Wallace had suffered a life Anyway, you could read the rest. I didn't want to get into that since he didn't want it shared, but I guess, everyone's going to be talking about it. But yeah, the stress from dealing with this, Blake, he suffered a life-threatening heart incident and was in the hospital. How many people have to go to the hospital dealing with your ass? Do you know what I mean? Gosh, dang. Skimming all the way down here to something, just little things that I found a little bit interesting. Moreover, the CRD is Blake Lively's complaint. That's what they call it, the CRD. The CRD form and complaint do not convey false statements of fact about plaintiffs. Legal filings contain preliminary accusations of wrongdoing, not adjudicated conclusions. It is well understood that a complaint includes allegations of wrongful conduct that are tested through the course of litigation until a judge or jury ultimately decides whether the allegations are true. Yeah, Blake, so y'all just asking for your own dismissal too. It's funny that you would be asking for your own dismissal, saying that, everything that the Wayfarer said is a bunch of baloney and is a sham. But, yet, you want this to go to the judge or jury. Honestly, I think Blake full well knew, so did Ryan Reynolds, that this was a lie, that it was full of just fake news on their end. Plaintiffs failed to plead actual malice. Plaintiffs must present clear and convincing evidence that Miss Lively published the CRD form and compliant with actual malice, that is, with knowledge that it was false or with reckless disregard of whether it was false. Well, I think once we get to the judge and jury, we are going to see that you did it with actual malice. Miss Lively believed when she filed the CRD form and complaint, and believes now, that plaintiff engaged in a retaliatory social media campaign to harm her for speaking out about the sexual harassment and hostile workplace she endured at the hands of plaintiff's partners Baldoni, Wayfair, and Heath. Such actions do not establish actual malice, but instead just the opposite, a general belief in harm caused to her by the plaintiffs. I'm going to say this once, like I've said it a million times now, hundreds of times. Everyone is telling you, all social media content creators who follow this story since last summer, okay, are telling you there was no smear campaign. It was organic, okay? You were doing some shit that was so shady. Your past is shady. You're a mean girl. You've been mean for decades. People were just unearthing your truths. Your truths. No lie was told. It was all just truth from things that you did or were still doing and are now still doing. No, like, I just can't believe it. I can't believe that still now we're saying that there was a retaliatory smear campaign for complaints made a year before. But they were still good to finish the whole movie. I mean, they gave you the movie. You forced them. You threatened and coerced to get into the editing room. I'm blown away that the lie can still continue and get bigger and bigger and bigger. Plaintiffs failed to adequately allege that they suffered damages attributable to the CRD form and CRD complaint. Finally, the plaintiffs failed to sufficiently plead facts supporting their alleged $1 million or more in damages, when, as here, the alleged defamatory statements involve a matter of public concern. A defamatory claim involving a matter of public concern requires proof of actual damages. Plaintiffs do not allege that they have lost jobs, profits, contracts, or suffered any other specific damages because of Miss Lively. Count 2 must be dismissed because the CRD form and CRD complaint constitute protected speech under the California law. Even if the court overlooks plaintiff's skeleton pleading, which it should not, Count 2 should still be dismissed because the CRD form and complaint are subject to multiple privileges to which California laws apply. California law applies to privilege asserted by Miss Lively because there is a conflict between Texas and California law, given the additional protections and remedies that California affords to shield from defamation claims individuals who speak out about sexual harassment and retaliation. The CRD form and complaint are absolutely protected by the litigation privilege. California provides a broad absolute privilege for statements made in a judicial proceeding or any other official proceeding authorized by law, including those involving administrative agencies like the CRD. To be protected by the sexual harassment privilege, the speaker need only have to be protected by the sexual harassment privilege, the speaker need only have or at any time had a reasonable basis to file a complaint of sexual assault, harassment, or discrimination, whether the complaint is or was filed or not. Emphasis added. In other words, the sexual harassment privilege attaches regardless of whether a complaint is ever filed and no matter who the communication is published to, as explained by California legislature. The protections would apply to individuals who, after relaying any factual statement, whether in the form of a formal complaint or a statement outside of formal proceedings, such as a media outlet, sued for defamation. Conclusion. After engaging in a retaliatory social media campaign against Miss Lively, plaintiffs now seek to drag her into a foreign court that lacks jurisdiction in an attempt to further punish her for privileged communications. But as explained above, plaintiffs' claim lack merit and are futile on their face. Thus, Ms. Lively respectfully requests that the court dismiss this case with prejudice under federal and award attorney fees and costs. Give me a break. Give me a break. And she wants it filed with prejudice so that he cannot refile again. Now, I just want to go down to some of the exhibits that I thought were quite interesting. I mean, it's a lot. There's like exhibits here from the lawyers to Brian and Brian Freeman. And I just think it's interesting that she would attach all of these to this because once again, it literally says in the email, the information contained in this email message is intended only for the person and confidential use of the recipients named above. This message may be an attorney-client communication or work product and as such is privileged and confidential. If you have received this communication in error, please notify us immediately. And there's a bunch of confidential emails between lawyers and parties and stuff. And then after that, it's just, it's just all her exhibits, which is like her CRD complaint again, everything that she quoted. I mean, it's just baloney, but I am going to go through the introduction of summary and argument again because it is worth mentioning. The Wayfair party's vengeful and rambling lawsuit. How can you say that was rambling? Look where we're at. 800 pages. The Wayfair with zero evidence in them. The Wayfair party's vengeful and rambling lawsuit against Blake Lively is a profound abuse of the legal process that has no place in federal court. The law prohibits weaponizing defamation lawsuits like this one to retaliate against individuals who have filed legal claims or have publicly spoken out about sexual harassment and retaliation. On top of that, Section 47.1 contains a mandatory fee-shifting provision that will require the Wayfair parties to pay not only Ms. Lively's attorney fees, but also treble damages and punitive damages, and when their defamation lawsuit is dismissed. And then let's just go on to what she claims in the FAC, since she says that none of it, she believes none of it was false. Let's just read this, and then I think that's the end of it, but... The FAC also claims that Ms. Lively violated the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, but cannot identify any term upon which that duty hinges. Well, they've just done that in their reply. And also their acting contract. I guess she broke the good faith acting contract. As with above, these claims seem to be based on Ms. Lively doing more than what was contractually required, rather than a breach of any obligation. Yeah, girl, you did a lot more than you were hired to do. Finally, the Wayfair parties claim that Ms. Lively interfered with the contract, yet are unable to identify the contract, any of its terms, who it was with, or how it was breached. In short, nothing in the FAC resembles an actionable legal claim. It is instead a blunt public relations instrument designed to further the Wayfair party's sinister campaign to bury and destroy Ms. Lively for speaking out about sexual harassment and retaliation. The FAC acknowledges numerous Onset instances that make up Ms. Lively's sexual harassment claim. Let's go over them. Y'all tell me what you guys think. Far from suggesting her claims are untrue, the FAC, while quibbling with Ms. Lively's characterization of events, because she wasn't telling the truth. They even put out the dance montage, which was a lie. So I don't think, anyway... Her characterization of events, her full-on falsehoods of events, is a full admission that the incidents underlying Ms. Lively's sexual harassment claims occurred. As set forth in the FAC, shooting of the film began on May 16, 2023, starting on the first day, according to FAC, which of the following incidences occurred. After the first day, Mr. Baldoni entered Ms. Lively's trailer to voice his concerns that Ms. Lively looked unflattering in publicly released photographs. During the meeting, Mr. Baldoni became emotional and told Ms. Lively that he thought her appearance was failing to meet audience expectations. That came from Sony. Justin Wayfair is the executive producer as well as the director. Sony told him to have a little discussion, okay? At some point in May or June, who knows, at some point in May or June 2023, a simulated nude scene was filmed without an intimacy coordinator present. I believe that scene wasn't even with Blake. It was with, at some point in May or June. So Blake did do one scene involving kissing. So I believe that this they're pointing to is probably with another actor, which has nothing to do with Blake. They only did one intimate scene the 16 days she was in phase 1, and Blake apparently directed that scene and didn't ask for an intimacy coordinator. However, in your nudity writer, she could have said if it was signed, which didn't get signed till a year later, that she wanted one present at all times. But anyway, there was apparently a simulated nude scene that was filmed without an intimacy coordinator present. Mr. Baldoni discussed orgasming while having sex with his wife, remarking that those have been some of the most beautiful moments between them. Yeah, because y'all were having a creative conversation about notes from the intimacy coordinator, notes that are also in the book about climaxing together. You disagreed with it because you thought it was weird and cringy. He was explaining how it could be some of the most beautiful moments. You took that conversation and you spun it on its head, okay? I have a lot of creative conversations right now. I'm developing a feature film, and my character, hopefully I'll get to play one day, is a narcissistic, very psychopathic serial killer and enjoys it. And the conversations I have about man-hating and why she's like that and her childhood, and if someone took those, they could really be like, oh, this woman's cray-cray, right? As the creator of this story. But it's like, they're just creative conversations loosely based on some form of personal experience or whatever, Mr. Baldoni asked Mr. Heath to show Miss Lively while she was eating lunch, a video of Mr. Heath's wife giving birth at home, part of which Mr. Heath subsequently showed her. A mother of 4, birthing 4 children, had a problem while eating lunch, while still pumping. A home birth video. Mr. Baldoni improvised while filming romantic scenes, which was consistent with his prior experience of rehearsing or filming scenes multiple times, often with variations, without needing permission. If you're an actor on set who does kissing scenes or any kind of intense scenes, or ever has been on theater, if you've ever worked theater and you have to do the same show 500 times, 5 nights a week, not one of those kisses are going to be the same. Yes, you can talk about the kiss. Yes, you can talk about whatever. I'm telling you, this is crazy, okay? It's crazy, guys. Like, Mr. Heath, let's just go back to this, because also, especially since Blake Lively has now been seen biting his lip, Blake Lively, No Teeth Lively, biting his lip, as well as they've expressed in the FAC, Justin Baldoni and the Wayfair parties, that they have the rehearsals filmed. They filmed rehearsal. Let's roll on rehearsal, people. And it shows Blake Lively actually improvising kissing. So what? Is this another time, once again, that Blake Lively can do it, but nobody else can? I'm telling you, as a performer, and I just directed my first movie last year. It's now currently, hopefully, going to be in film festivals. We've submitted. There is some physicality, okay? And we didn't have an intimacy coordinator. And there's a certain amount of good faith and trust that you have to have with your scene partner, that they are doing it in character and that they are doing it for the role and for the movie. And it's not personal. And when cut is called, you're back to work. Do you know? Mr. Baldoni improvised while filming. Oh, yeah, we just did that. Mr. Heath was present in Miss Lively's hair and makeup trailer while she had body makeup removed. And despite her asking him to turn away while they spoke, he may have made eye contact with her at one point and later apologized after Miss Lively told him that it had made her feel uncomfortable. Not later. Weeks later, she made a joke about it. And he apologized. She made a joke about him making eye contact with her. And he apologized. And she said, "Don't worry, I don't think that you were trying to cop a feel." What? Mr. Baldoni hired a friend to play the... I can't. Obstetrician. The gynecologist in a scene in which Miss Lively's character gives birth and in which he would be close proximity to her genitalia. GTFO. I'm tired of this talking point. It's absolutely ridiculous. He is a trained actor. Okay? He is a trained actor. Mr. Baldoni used the word sexy to describe Miss Lively in at least 2 times, including once when Miss Lively was wearing a onesie with a big coat on it. Let's count all of the times that Blake Lively flirted with Justin Baldoni in the text. Tried to reel him in. Was over the top flirtatious with him. Over sexual with him. I bite no teeth. Get out of here. Get out of here. He called because he said you'd be sexy in a certain kind of wardrobe because you like to use the word sexy when you describe your characters, and he was trying to like just appease you. Get out of here. The November 9th, 2023 email emphasized that Miss Lively at the time was willing to forego a more formal HR process at the time, as long as the set is safe moving forward, and attached a document with 17 protections that will need to be guaranteed and observed by the film's producers. And it was, in her own words. Many of these protections tracked the precise incidents described in the FAC. For example, point 1 required that an intimacy coordinator be present at all time. Point 3 prohibited spontaneous improvisation of scenes involving physical touching, simulated sex, or nudity, and required the same to be choreographed with an intimacy coordinator. Point 5 forbade discussing personal experience with sex or nudity, including with respect to spouses. Point 6 prohibited anyone from entering Miss Lively's trailer while she was in a state of undress for any reason. Point 10 established that there would be no retaliation for the request. Point 16 required that all day players be hired through talent agencies, not personal connections. Point 17 required an all-hands meeting before production resumed, notwithstanding its purported concerns. Wayfair ultimately found the protections agreeable and signed an agreement committing to all of the terms of the production for return to work on January 19th. On January 4th, the parties attended and agreed to an all-hands meeting, during which the FAC alleges that Miss Lively read out loud a list of grievances that the Wayfair parties alleged they believed were as troubling as they were fictional. Dun dun dun. And let's just, again, because I think some things are falling on deaf ears here when it comes to Blake Lively, because she keeps reiterating the same things with her lawyers. Number 1, her sister was also hired on set. Emily Baldoni was also hired on set. Justin hired his friend to play a role. Actors hire their friends when they are able to make their own movies. That's literally what happens. That's like literally what happened. And let's not forget that on January 4th, what she is calling an all-hands meeting was an ambush through a text message of just wanting to get together before the first day of set. And the next day, on January 5th, she texted Justin Baldoni to go into her trailer while she was pumping. That tells me everything I need to know. Okay? The complaint alleges 10 claims under California law, including sexual harassment, retaliation, failure to prevent harassment and retaliation, aiding and abetting the same, as well as others. The CRD complaint is virtually identical to the initial complaint Ms. Lively filed on December 31st. You reworded a few things, girl. Almost identical. I mean, you reworded a few of your lies that you got caught in. You should have changed a lot more. But in response to Miss Lively's legal complaints, the Wayfair parties retaliated against Miss Lively with a meritless counterattack. So them even defending themselves, that their right to defend themselves in court, is now an attack on Miss Lively. Can you imagine being attacked so publicly as to the New York Times article, the CRD complaint, everything that she did to them throughout the entire process, costing them hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And then they defend themselves and you call it an attack? My gosh, the victim mindset. Please never let me be in this kind of victim mindset. In response to Miss Lively's legal complaints, the Wayfarer parties retaliate against Miss Lively with a meritless counterattack. On June 16, 2025, the Wayfarer parties initiated this separate action against Miss Lively, her husband Ryan Reynolds, and her publicist, the Sloan parties. 2 weeks later, on January 31st, the Wayfarer parties filed the operative FAC, adding the Times as a defendant and attaching a 168-page single-space narrative timeline as Exhibit A. Okay, so that's pretty much it. I mean, there is, if you want, 700 more pages to read through, but I showed before, 3/4 of it is honestly just like rulings, law, their kind of law, like a whole bunch of stuff that is very unnecessary to a judge for sure. And I just think it's a bunch of bluff. And also then it's her CRD complaint, and then it's also a rebuttal to her CRD complaint. And really none of that has to do with Jed Wallace. None of that. Show us where he implemented the attack. Show us where this smear campaign happened. Show us what you actually have from now, except for the obtained text messages through Stephanie motherfucking Jones. And I'm not done with you, girl. Stephanie Jones, you're about to get it too, because I did quickly in January go into the PR stuff. But I'm going to be doing another deep dive on that PR because y'all, Leslie Sloan and Stephanie Jones, we're here today because of you and Ryan Reynolds and, of course, the wife of Ryan Reynolds. But yeah, my gosh, I don't know, guys. It's just a little bit bonkers. The whole thing was crazy. Everyone's going on about this 800-page thing. A fluff, okay? And the fact that she put his medical in there that he had redacted and it was clearly redacted for the public, to me, no. When you're dealing with like bitterness like that and vengefulness and absolute like disdain is dark and it's not right. It's not you're not fighting for the right things. Do you know what I mean? You're not fighting to be on the right side of things. You're just fighting to be right. And oftentimes, like this, you're wrong. And I think Blake is very wrong in this, and it's going to be found out. Now, I usually end with pulling a card from a deck and talking about, whatever that card tells me, but I do have something inside me that's just like, I really want to talk about mindfulness, and I've been listening a lot to Neville Goddard. I can't say his name, but I'll write it on the screen. Neville Goddard. Anyway, and a lot. And even though I've been listening to people like that, I've read tons of Dr. Joe Dispenza. I listen to a lot of Abraham Hicks. I mean a lot. This kind of fell on my lap at the right time a few weeks ago. And in it, it's a lot of mindfulness and manifestation. And he talks a lot about the feeling of it. And one thing that he said that really stuck to me was, you didn't beg to exist, so you don't need to beg for what you want. You don't need to beg in your manifestations. You don't need to keep going back to it over and over and over and begging the universe, because that's not the good feeling. Focus on the feeling. You know what you want. You don't know how it's going to look. You don't know. Shouldn't focus on the result of it or how it's going to look or anything, but there's this feeling that just makes you feel so good, like you already have it. You know what you want. Ask for it. Demand it. Put it into you. And then go about your life like it is already done. It takes a long time, because a lot of us have been conditioned to be small, to think small, to feel bad about ourselves, to not outshine anyone, to not be too confident, but love yourself, but not too much, But if we can recondition our brain every single time consciously, every single self-talk, every single thing that you're saying in here, if you can condition it to just be based back on that feeling that you get when you think about the thing that you've asked for and that you know is coming. If you continue to just focus on the feeling of having it, you will be drawing and attracting things that are perfectly aligned to you through that feeling. You will be radiating and lifting yourself up into a world that, even though can't be seen by the eye, is different than you were without it. Believe in yourself. Believe that you are worthy. Know that you are worthy, and walk every day of your life knowing that what you want and what you've asked for is your birthright. It is your birthright to co-create with the universe and give you what you want. As long as you're not hurting other people. As long as you're not stealing other people's movies. As long as you're not, Anyway, I just want to leave y'all with that because it's something I've been thinking about a lot in the past couple weeks. Especially after, going through what I just went through and still being able to show up here today. I just feel so absolutely blessed that these teachings keep coming all at the right times and allows me every day to wake up feeling still so grateful and accepting of my journey, of what I've been through, where I came from, and where I'm going in the future, and who I'm going to be, who I want to be, what I want to leave, the energy that I want to just have. Yeah. Anyway. Hopefully that resonated with someone. I don't even know if that made sense to me, but sometimes I just go off, girl. Go off, girl. Anyway, happy Monday, and good news. The timeline is posted. I know y'all are probably waiting for that. I posted it in the description, so when this video drops, the timeline should be live. I'm going to be real honest with you. It took me a week or two because I wanted to keep adding to it. I just haven't had time. Girl is busy, so you're not going to find in there on the timeline when she texted him about the dragons and when he left the voice memo. Those are like the two big things that I wanted to add, and I don't have time, so I just got to drop it with the episode because I don't want to keep anyone waiting anymore. But yeah, thank you so much to everyone, honestly, that's been supporting this channel and commenting and following me through this year, really. Thank you. I really appreciate y'all being here. And yeah, I do talk a lot about this case because that's what brought me here, and that's what everyone I feel like is interested in. Of course, you build the audience with it, but there are so much more things that I am involved in, and I'm happy that I just get to be here and share little tidbits here and there with you. And yeah, as this case develops, I will continue to report on it because I have not seen anything like this my whole life. And being a filmmaker and a director in indie film, I could never imagine hiring a big actor and them just absolutely destroying my life like this. It's horrible. So anyway, have a great day. Happy Monday. I'm such a geek. Anyway, love you guys. Bye. Ciao.